Seconds here. And we're back. Sorry about that little skip and a jump there. So just restart here very quickly. So we are talking about Eddie Vedder and about his rant and his anti-war rant and quoting John Lennon from the song Imagine. So we'll let you go from there, Britt.
I was just wondering if he was going to cap, because a few weeks ago he performed a cover of the Frozen smash hit and Oscar-winning song, Let It Go. And I thought he might have tied that in with, let it go, because he wants everyone to make love, not war. And so he was, going to cap it off with that.
Not according to the article at all. I mean, he didn't say anything about that. I wouldn't be surprised, but they could have also left that part out. They could have very well left that part out, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I didn't say anything about the article. It's more or less like I said, he was quoting John Lennon from the song Imagine.
Okay.
So the other thing, actually, just almost forgot about is very soon Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins is releasing somewhat of a reissue and added stuff to their album Adore, which came out in '98, and he had everything prepared, and he got mad at Amazon because Amazon apparently released the track list, which he was going to do, so they kind of broke their contract in doing that. So he was a little miffed with that.
Oh no!
So he went on to say that it takes me months to prepare this, and there's a rhyme and a reason behind it, and that sort of thing. And he said, you know what, I'm upset because he wrote the contract, and now I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next if I ever do re-release or that sort of thing, or a new a kind of a box set sort of thing. Who am I gonna trust to hold on to this stuff and not release it until I tell them to?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, what do you think about this before I say something?
Well, I'm not surprised just because the digital age we live in, excuse me, it's going to happen whether it's an actual company that you're working with or it's not. Make themselves look bad as opposed to good, because no, even though people want to know about it, they're like, well, now you just stepped on these people's toes, and it's not as exciting as if the band had released all this at once.
Yeah, that's very true. I just kind of feel like it was going to come out, and I totally empathize, believe me, with having it spoiled, if you will. But I think that just like with the music, how the songs leak. Like last year, Katy Perry's song "Roar" leaked online, and there was a lot of fear that it was somehow going to affect sales of the single. But it actually generated more buzz because people were talking about the leak, and then wanted to hear the song, and so it kind of became. I don't know. It kind of helped give it more publicity than it perhaps would have, and it still ended up going to number one.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, it can be half and half. Sometimes it can work to their advantage, and sometimes it can go wrong. And that's the thing is, you don't know. That's why there's always such a stress and of protecting it. And I remember when that first started happening, Linkin Park. Trying to remember the name of the album was their second album, but anyways, they had everything kind of locked up and bodyguards make sure and just everything possible to make sure this thing did not get online or get out before it was supposed to, and they did it, and they managed. I mean, by the time Linkin Park was really big, now not so much anymore. So if that happened, I don't think they'd go those extremes to make sure it doesn't come out online. So. But it has happened in the past, many times in the past, but sometimes it can work to advantage and sometimes it can go against you. It really depends. I mean, you just never know. That's why it's such a scary thing to let that stuff get out too early sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it happens with movies all the time. And for instance, just a prime example, the movie Transcendence, which came out in March, starring Johnny Depp, they played it really secretive in the early production stages about what it's about, and everyone was wondering and on the edge of their seats, and then the movie comes out and it still, it underperformed at the box office, and everyone kind of was, the secretiveness of everything didn't really drive a lot of interest into the film. And I know there's a lot of people who feel like you have to keep they play it really secretive with the TV shows, and I absolutely hear both sides of the argument, but I don't know. I think the biggest thing that hurts movies is when people see them early and they haven't seen all the post-production flourishes and everything hasn't been completely finished, and then people badmouth it, and then that hurts the film. And there was just a film this week that happened too. They were just doing test screenings, and apparently some word got out about it, and it really ruined the word of mouth, so much so that they had to push a release date. But I think that's when you kind of when people are talking too soon about making judgments, that it really hurts it, as opposed to actually, knowing what it's about.
Very true. So, and then there's your prime example right there of how it can go wrong, can always work for you, right?
Absolutely.
So, just before we get into your blogs here, just a quick note here. I will be away this weekend, so New Music Saturday will be on Sunday this time around, so it'll be New Music Sunday just for the 1 week. But I just wanted to let people know, so if you want to get submissions in, now's the time to do it. You can tweet or DM me, and I'll let you know what the info is from there. So, Britt, let's get into your blogs.
Okay, well, first I had a review. I'm not going in any particular order. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do this from memory, but I did a review of Endless Love, the remake. And if you remember, a few weeks ago, I did a review of the original. I watched it. It was new on Netflix. And, well, the new one definitely, it made some improvements, because there's some very outlandish things that occur in the first movie, and a lot of it is just a lot of drama that's not necessary. But this one was directed by Shayna Festi, who directed the movie Country Strong with Gwyneth Paltrow a few years ago. And this movie is much better than that movie, but I don't know how much that's saying, because I didn't think that movie was very good. But she had a much better debut film with The Greatest, which starred Carey Mulligan, and it was one of her breakthrough roles over here, and it kind of got buzzed. It also starred Pierce Brosnan. I really enjoyed that movie. It was an indie. I don't know how many people saw it, but I definitely enjoyed that more. But the big story for me out of this movie is the soundtrack, and this band, never heard of them before, but I'm glad I know about them now, called Lord Huron. They did a song on there called Ends of the Earth, which is a really, really good song. So sometimes you can always find the silver lining, and for me, the silver lining of the movie was that song.
Oh, fair enough.
So yeah, it does have a really nice indie pop soundtrack, and I did enjoy that song. The young leads, Alex Pettyfer, who I guess this is his this is definitely his most convincing performance to date. But one of the things that really hampers the film is that there is no chemistry between the leads. And I don't know what is going on in Hollywood, but it seems like they are scared to have two leads in a romantic drama that actually have chemistry. It is scary. I mean, I really don't get it. When was the last time you saw genuine chemistry between co-stars, that was supposed to be there, and it was, they were making the movie about it?
Good question. Nothing's really coming to mind, to be honest with you.
I know. See, it's just that I think a lot of, because you're seeing there's kind of been a downturn in romantic dramas, in my opinion. Like, I'm noticing less of them being produced, but it really is that the chemistry factor has just been so diminished, and it's disappointing. I think that's what drives people to see these movies, is to see this amazing, epic chemistry, and man, it's just, the H-Wood has not been delivering recently. Now, I will say that you have some actors who will have chemistry with a broomstick, and it's not really as big of an issue. Like, for me, Eva Green, she can she make your average house broom seem like an amazing, a practical romantic option. And it's like, whoa, but she just can do that. Not everyone can do that. So it's kind of, and I notice with the younger actors, they're always very hesitant. And it's really weird, because everyone says we live in this really over sexualized world, but yet they don't have any chemistry whatsoever. So I don't know how much that's true.
Yeah, I can see that. No, fair enough. Like,
I know I'm coming on hardcore, but this is just woken me up this morning.
No, that's fine. I mean, like, you know how much you like my romantic comedies, so
Well, I know you do. I mean, I will say that romantic comedies, and God love them, they're going out quicker than the sun sets. But I do think that the romantic dramas, because when you have a romantic comedy, you can kind of forgive it a little more because it's a little quirky, and normally they start out hating each other in the movie anyway. But here, it's just that when you're really, your linchpin of the entire movie is your love story, kind of a bad thing to get wrong.
Yeah, you'd think so, but obviously they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and then another movie review posted, talked a little bit about this last week, Neighbors. Oof. I think I can kind of set out in that review, but just very predictable. And, one of the things, just like I was talking about with, chemistry going out of style, was the fact that Seth Rogen in this movie, if you see the trailers, he plays a father and a husband whose fraternity fortuitously moves next door and proceeds to keep him and his baby daughter awake when they're throwing raves and parties. And so a kind of war begins between the two. But that's what you would think the war was actually about, keeping his daughter from being woken up. But who, by the way, is an adorable baby. She's the cutest little baby I've seen in a movie in a very long time. And it's really not about her. He is upset because he wants to be partying, and they fraternity reminds him of better days, and he'd rather be hanging out with them than with his baby. So he basically has to get them out of sight and out of mind so that he doesn't, go back to apparently, living like a college student, even though, obviously those days have passed.
Well, it's kind of like old school then, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, and the wife gets in on it too. She's like, "Yeah, I want to just get crazy ass drunk." Oh, pardon my French. And, so I don't know. What I missed was, and what I kind of thought went into seeing the movie thinking was, reflecting on it later, was Steve Martin and John Candy. They always played these frustrated paternal figures who were trying to make something good happen for their kids, and then some outside force would disrupt it. And that's what I was looking for here. But here, the Steve Martin and John Candy character wants to party, get crazy drunk, and pass out and do stuff like that, and get high and stuff. So that's kind of it's a different take. It's a different take.
Well, it's also, I mean, like, at least 20 some odd years later since some of those John Candy, Steve Martin movies came out. So at different times, obviously they got to kind of essentially keep with the times a little bit.
That is very true.
And I'm not saying that every parent after a while says, "No, I want to go party, get passed out drunk," that sort of thing. But it just, it's kind of somewhat the age we live in. I mean, it's going on, even though we want to deny it, it's going on in some places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's true, and I totally get parents wanting to, maybe chill out. But the only problem I had one of the major problems I had with it was that they had left their daughter alone in their house when they went over to party at the fraternity. So I was like, whoa, hey, something could happen to her, and no one's with her, and she's kind of an afterthought. And I don't know, I felt real bad for that baby.
See, that's where you differ from a lot of people, is they probably see that and just kind of think about it for a second, and completely dismiss it, then focus on the rest of the part,
Oh, yeah, I totally get that. And I totally get that comedies are built around outlandish scenarios, but sometimes you kind of have to have this, you're empathizing with the characters going through these outlandish things. You kind of forgive them a little bit. But here, I was, wow, they kind of played it a little too serious in the movie for me to, break away and say, oh my gosh, is this an outlandish comedy? No big deal.
No, fair enough. I still want to see it, because obviously I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a different opinion.
I want you to see it, because I think that I would really like to hear what your take on it. Maybe you think I'm being a little too, I don't know, prudish. I'm not really sure.
Well, it's on the list of to do, so. Hopefully I'll get to it sooner than later. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this time around for Bloggers Corner. So, Brett, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And until next weekend, we'll probably be back to 1:30. Unless that changes, I'll keep very posted and let you know. So until next time, thank you for sticking around after that little technical snafu, because it happens sometimes, unfortunately, because things don't always work like we want to, because sometimes they're a piece of junk. But, you know. but until then, remember, New Music Saturday will be on Sunday this week instead of Saturday, because I'm out of town until Sunday afternoon. So until then, guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been Dr. Bones and Britt for Bloggers Corner. Until next time, Bones out.